In Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, the end of the world is marked not by destruction, but by miscommunication. Although dissimilar to many other science fiction films with its minimalist aesthetic and relative lack of action, the film, like many of its genre, acts as speculation as well as commentary about humanity. Villeneuve uses the aliens, the scientists, the warmongering, familiar sci-fi tropes, to create an incredibly deep and political film about language and fear. At its core, Arrival is about communication, and about what happens when communication fails. It's about how our own self-destructive tendencies, rather than any unknown power or being, is humanity's true greatest threat to survival. Villeneuve uses the premise of the film to reveal a world of militarism, nationalism, and fear. The moment the unknown appears, humans immediately begin seeing the aliens as a potential threat. The composition of the film is intentional. Before we as viewers even see the aliens, we see the world's reaction. We see people responding with fear, newsreels of suspicion and of rioting, militarized zones where soldiers and politicians, rather than scientists, dominate the screen, where world leaders panic about how to respond, and where global cooperation almost instantly fails. Each nation rushes to interpret the alien message alone, isolated. Here, the film is clearly critiquing nationalism, and how quickly international relations disappear when nations are uncertain, fearful, and lacking in control. Even as the aliens reach out peacefully, many of the humans refuse to listen. Villeneuve contrasts shots of the slow, conscious work of translating the alien language with the rapidly accelerating levels of fear on the part of the nations, who are mistrusting their allies, cutting the sharing of information, and preparing for conflict. In modern geopolitics, we see time and time again this same response to refugees, to pandemics, to climate change. Fear, suspicion, isolation. The alien arrival is a metaphor for any unfamiliar or disruptive presence, something that is not inherently dangerous, but is interpreted that way because of our own prejudices. In Louise's words,
"If all I ever gave you was a hammer,
everything's a nail."
One of the film's main themes, unmistakably, is xenophobia. Despite the aliens' presence being peaceful, paranoia continues to grow. China prepares to attack. Villeneuve exposes how simple miscommunication, such as the mistranslation of tool to weapon through the lens of fear and suspicion, all too often become justifications for violence. Preemptive violence that precedes any real reason to fight. As international relations dissolve under pressure, the film highlights a fundamental flaw in modern global politics, a lack of trust. China and Russia cut ties, and every other country quickly follows, beginning to interpret the alien language on their own. The result is misinterpretation, paranoia, and a rapid spiral towards annihilation. Arrival warns that without trust, no translation is safe, no science is neutral, and no message, no matter how peaceful, can be heard. But Arrival is never nihilistic. It's a film that insists on hope, on empathy. In the end, humanity isn't saved by weapons or even by science. It is Louise's refusal to give in to fear and her choice to risk her life and go against orders and national interest that is their salvation. She connects with China not by coercing them via threats of violence or conflict, but by through vulnerability. She has the courage to trust another person with whom she doesn't share a culture nor language to do the right thing. That is the true essence of what Villeneuve is attempting to get across. One of the questions asked within the film is what, if anything, can be pointed to as the concrete foundation of civilization.
Language is the foundation of civilization. It is the glue that holds the people together. It is the first weapon drawn in a conflict. No, that's great, even if it's wrong.
it's wrong."
Well, the cornerstone of civilization isn't language, it's science.
The linguist says it's language, the scientist says it's science. But I believe the true foundation of civilization is compassion. As proposed by anthropologist Margaret Mead, the sign of compassion for another person, compassion powerful enough to risk one's life for another, is the true sign of a civilized society. Yes, the film explores nonlinear time, and yes, the linguistic relativity hypothesis does play a role, but those all exist to serve a larger point. How we see the future determines how we act in the present. The aliens can see all of time, and so they act not with self-serving urgency, but with long-term cooperation. They know that 3,000 years from now, they will need humanity's help, and that in order for us to do this, we need international cooperation. The aliens already know what will happen, and so lack fear about the future. In contrast, humanity, stuck in linear, short-term thinking, spirals towards disaster at the first sign of uncertainty. Powerful contrasts our human linear understanding of time, which makes us anxious about the future and regretful about the past, with the heptapods, who see all of time at once. Their patience, their calm, their compassion, it all stems from this. In a world plagued by climate crises, political instability, and short-term solutions and thinking, Villeneuve criticizes our fixation on immediacy. If we sought the full circle of time, would we treat each other or our planet any differently? The message here is deeply political. Our inability to think long-term about climate change, war, inequality is a product of the way our systems are built. Governments think in election cycles, economies think in quarterly earnings. Arrival asks us to think like the heptapods. It asks us to look at the entire picture and to act, not for control, but for connection, for compassion.